In this video, we will learn how to calculate the gradient of a line and how to use the concept of gradient to solve problems in real life context. It is important that you already know how to simplify fractions, because when you are asked to calculate gradient and you get an answer, let's say 6 out of 18 as the gradient, it's important for you to simplify this to 1 out of 3. What is gradient? In mathematics, gradient simply refers to the slope of a straight line. How do we calculate gradient? To calculate gradient, it is the rise over the run. So you calculate the vertical distance over the horizontal distance. In this case, the rise is 14 units. So 14 over the run, which is 13 units. How do we get that? We have 3 to 17. So the difference is 17 minus 3, which gives us 14. So the rise is 14 and the run. So the horizontal distance. So we have 5 and 18. So the difference is 18 minus 5, which gives us 13. We can also count the number of smaller boxes in case we don't have these coordinates given, and we'll get the same figure 30. In this case, this fraction cannot be simplified, so we leave our answer as it is. Generally, when you are asked to calculate the gradient of a straight line, it is the rise over the run. Rise is the vertical distance. So it is going to be the difference between the y coordinates, so y2 minus y1, and the run is going to be x2 minus x1. So this is the general formula calculating gradient of a straight line. So it's the change in y over the change in the x coordinates. Let's look at some examples. In the following graphs, we are asked to calculate the gradient. You see, in these examples, the coordinates are not given, so we'll form smaller right angles in order to determine our gradient. In A, we see that the line passes through this point and this point, so we can form smaller triangle here. So A, the gradient is going to be the rise, that's a vertical distance, so 1, 2, 3. So 3 out of 1, 2. So the gradient is 3 over 2. Or if you leave it as a decimal, 1.5. Now let's look at B. For B, it's a horizontal line. So it means that rise is 0 all over the run. The run we can take from any point on the line to another, but you see 0 divided by any number is 0. So it tells us that if we even take from here to here, so 1, 2 over 2, the answer is 0. So it tells us that the gradient of this line is 0. Now in C, we'll notice that we can form a triangle at this point and this point, which falls exactly on the line. So if we form a triangle here, then the rise is 1 unit all over the run. We have 1, 2, 3, which is 3. So the gradient is 1 over 3. But it's important for you to know the difference between how these two graphs slope. This is a positive slope and this is a negative slope. So we have to add negative to it. So generally, when you see a line sloping this way, it means that it has a negative gradient. And when you see a line sloping this way, it means that it has a positive gradient. Because this line slopes this way, we have to add a negative to our value. So the gradient is negative 1 over 3. Now let's look at D. In D, the rise we can take from any point, any 2 points on the line. So we can say 1, 2, 3, 4. So the rise is 4 all over the run. But there is no run, it's just a vertical line. So the run is 0. So in this case, we say that it is undefined. So the answer to this is does not exist, or it is undefined. Now you have to know the difference between this and this. Generally, the gradient of a horizontal line is 0, while the gradient of a vertical line does not exist. In this example, we are given 2 points, A and B, and we are asked to determine the gradient of the line that passes through A and B. So what we'll do is that we use gradient is equal to change in y, so y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So we can label this as x1, y1, x2, y2. The gradient is going to be x2, which is -2, minus x1, which is 2, all over y2, which is 2, minus y1, which is -4. So our gradient is equal to -4 all over -2 minus 2 is -4. 2 minus -4 is +6. So in this case, we have to simplify our fraction because it can be simplified. So this becomes -2 can go into 4 2 times and go into 6 3 times. So it means that the gradient of the line that passes through the 2 points, A, 2 -4, and B, -2 2, is -2/3. Let's look at another example. Example 3. We are asked to find the gradient of the line that passes through point P and Q. So we quote our gradient formula. Gradient is equal to y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So it's important to always remember this. It's changing y over changing x. We can label our coordinates x1, y1, x2, y2. So we substitute these values into our gradient formula, and this is equal to y2 is 5 minus y1, so -1 all over x2 is also 5 minus x1, which is also 5. So when we do this, we get 6 all over 0. 6 divided by 0 does not exist. Any number divided by 0 is undefined. The gradient is undefined or does not exist. The question reads that the graph alongside indicates the wages paid to sales assistants. What does the intercept on the vertical axis mean? So intercept simply means where the graph cuts either the y-axis or the x-axis. So in this case, it says, what does the intercept on the vertical axis mean? And the intercept on this vertical axis is 0. So it simply means that the wage that someone gets for working 0 hours. In this particular question, if you work 0 hours, you get 0 wage. Or if you work 0 hours, you get paid nothing. In this context, working for 0 hours means that no payment is received. So the wage paid for working 0 hours, which is 0. B, we are asked to find the gradient of the line. And what does this gradient mean? So first, let's find the gradient of this line using any of these, the 2 points on the line. So we can choose this and that, or we can just choose any pair. So let's use this point and this point. We know that gradient is changing y, so y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So let's say this is our x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. It means that the gradient is going to be 45 minus y1, which is 90, all over x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is 6. So when we simplify this, we get negative 45 all over negative 3. So negative will cancel out, and this becomes 15. What does this gradient mean? Gradient simply means that a change in the y value or the output values as a result of a unit change in the x values. So in this context, what it means is that for every hour worked, the wage is going to increase by 15 since the gradient is 15. It simply means that for every additional hour worked, the wage is also going to increase by 15 pounds.